السلام عليكم. أهلا وسهلا أبنائي طلاب السنة الثالثة فرقة شعبة اللغة الإنجليزية. النهاردة إحنا بنتكلم في المحاضرة التاسعة وعنوانها الضريبة على إيرادات الثروة العقارية. أنا معاكم الدكتور نعيم فهيم حنا، أستاذ المحاسبة والضرائب في الكلية. Nature of revenues. According to Article 37 of the Law Number 91 for the year 2005, which stated that taxable revenues include the following: revenues from agricultural land, revenues from constructed real estate, and revenues from furnished units. But the Law Number 196 for the year 2008 has amended Article 37 to include the last two revenues only. So the taxable revenues that are subject to tax on natural persons and related to real estate can be summarized in the following two categories: revenues resulted from constructed real estate rent of building, and revenues resulted from leasing of furnished units. In addition to the previous two categories of tax, there is another kind of tax called the tax of alienation of realities. يطلق عليها الضريبة على التصرفات العقارية. Now let us discuss each one in some details. Number one, revenues of constructed real estate. According to Article 39, after it has amended, the taxable revenue which is resulted from the leasing of a building according to civil law provisions is determined as follows: taxable net revenues equals to actual rental value multiplied by 50%. As an example, if a natural person owns a building which he rents it to a company at £5,000 monthly. To determine the taxable revenues, we have to apply the rule: taxable net revenues equals to actual rental value multiplied by 50%. So according to the number of the example, 50,000 Egyptian pound monthly multiplied by 12 months in the year multiplied by 50% equals to 30,000 pounds, Egyptian pounds yearly. Leasing of furnished units. Revenues of leasing of furnished units are determined on the basis of the actual rental value after deducting 50% for all costs and expenses, whether these units are used as living quarter or to perform a commercial or industrial activities or on a non-commercial profession or any other purpose. So the taxable revenue equals to actual rental value multiplied by 50%. As an example, let's assume that a natural person owns a building composed of 12 apartments of equal rental value. He lives with his family in one of these apartments and leases the other apartments according to civil law provisions. The monthly rent is £1,000 Egyptian pound for each apartment, required to determine the taxable revenue. To solve this example, we have to determine the taxable revenue as follows: net taxable revenue equals to 11 apartments multiplied by 1,000 Egyptian pound monthly multiplied by 50% equals to 5,500 monthly as Egyptian pound. Annually tax base equals to 5,500 multiplied by 12 months equals to 66,000 Egyptian pound. Note that in the previous example, the apartment which used as residency of tax buyer and his family is exempted from tax. So the total revenues are computed on the base of 11 apartments, not 12 apartments. A natural person has leasing a furnished apartment within the city cordon at monthly rent of 1,200 for 10 months during the last year of 2019. To determine the taxable revenue solution, taxable revenue equals to 1,200 multiplied by 10 months during the year multiplied by 50% equal to 6,000 Egyptian pound. The last kind or the last category of taxes imposed on the real estate wealth is the tax on the revenue of the alienation of realities. According to Article 42 of the tax law, revenues of alienation of realities are subject to tax at the rate of 2.5% of the total revenue without any deduction. This alienation can be categorized as follows. First, alienation are subject to tax of 2.5%. Number one, alienation in built realities and land within the city cordon. within the city cordon يعني داخل حدود المدينة وداخل كردون المدينة. Alienation by donation to other than ascendants or descendants or spouses. Assignment of use fract يعني حق الانتفاع or its lease for a period exceeding 50 years. As an example, let's assume that a natural person owns a building composed of 12 apartments of equal rental value. He lives with his family in one of these apartments and leases the other apartments according to civil law provisions. The monthly rent is 1,000 pound, Egyptian pound, for each apartment, required to determine the taxable revenue. To solve this example, we have to determine the taxable revenue as follows. Net taxable revenue equals to, as an example, if a natural person owns a building which he rents it to a company at 5,000 pounds monthly. To determine the taxable revenues, we have to apply the rule. Taxable net revenues equals to actual rent. My dear students, I hope that you understood all points of this topic, and I advise you to practice this lecture manually by studying and solving the applied cases and the problems related in the attached PDF folder next lecture, which contains solving and explained problems. I consider it as an important supplementary part for this topic. أعزائي الطلاب، أرجوكم يعني تاخدوا بالكم إنه هذه المحاضرة هي شرح فقط للموضوع، لكن هناك محاضرة تالية إن شاء الله اللي بعديها هتبقى مخصصة لوجود أمثلة محلولة ومشروحة جيدا عشان تطبق عليها هذه الموضوعات. والمحاضرة ده الجزء أساسي من المحاضرة، التطبيق العملي اللي انت لازم تاخد بالك منه. أتمنى لكم التوفيق إن شاء الله، وربنا معاكم جميعا ويوفقكم لما فيه الخير إن شاء الله.